Hello and welcome to my garage. Today I'm going to be talking you through the track rod end change procedure on MGB. The job itself is fairly straightforward. It should be easy enough to do for most home mechanics. You don't need too much in the way of specialist tools. There are a few on the table here that I'll run through shortly. The only slight difficulty maybe is if you change the alignment of the car when you change the track rod end, you may need to go to a tyre centre or similar to have your alignment checked. Let's take a look at what we need for the job. So running through our tool set here, we've got a ball joint separator. Now this is a bit of a specialist tool, but it does make the job an awful lot easier. You can use a hammer instead to strike the sort of steering arm, and that will pop the spindle of the track rod end out. I do prefer using this tool, it makes it an awful lot easier. I will put a link in the video description showing where these are available as well. In terms of spanners, we've just got a 19, but that's to go with that tool. We've got a 7/8 and a 22. This is basically for the flat part of the track rod end that you can't quite see it there, but it's the flat there, and then the nut that attaches to it. Obviously we've got two brand new track rod ends here for the job. We've also got a couple of the rubber steering gaiters too. Always useful to have these in, have these in the spares bin. They do sort of perish, and it's an ideal opportunity to swap them out if you need to. Lastly, we've just got a 1/2 inch ratchet here, and I think that's a three quarter head on there, the socket, and that's just for the nut there that's at the bottom of these track rod ends. The reason to change the track rod end is usually because the rubber sort of gaiter part here perished on, and this is a terrible example. I mean, this is a really old one that you can see is in really bad shape. The rubber is all sort of pulled away, and that's let the water in, and that's got into this sort of knuckle joint here and made everything very, very stiff. It's often an MOT failure in the UK, that's why you need to change them. Usually if there's any sort of split at all in the rubber, that is an automatic fail. Obviously with something like this, you'd certainly want to be swapping it anyway. So let's take a look at the car and we'll get started on the job. So you'll be able to see the track rod end here. On my car, they're not in bad condition, but I have noticed that there's just a little bit of perishing going on with the rubber around here. It's possibly rubbing on the inside of the wheel a bit as well. So to do the job, we've basically got to remove this bottom nut here. We're then going to separate these two parts here. So that's a nut that's on the steering rack, and then this can be wound off. So as you can see, we've got the front of the car jacked up. In fact, we've got all of the car jacked up for this because we're doing some sort of winter maintenance at the moment. So I'm going to put the camera on a tripod and we'll get started on separating the parts here. So you'll be able to see the track rod end we're working on here. We'll get it's a 7/8 spanner for this nut that's on the steering rack, and then we've got a 22 which we can use just to hold, just to put on that flat there and hold this all in place. So let me just try and keep my hands out of the way of the camera if I can. So we're just going to hold that there, and then this should just ease up and out of the way. So let me just see if we can. There we go. And we don't need to sort of undo this too much. In fact, leaving it sort of where it is means when you put this track rod end back on, as long as it's the same design and the same sort of length there, it should go back in just about the same place. So I'm just going to sort of, about half a turn, quarter of a turn of that back, and then we can look at this nut underneath. There we go. So now I'm just going to take this bottom nut off. Sometimes it can spin within this sort of steering arm, but let me just see what happens. Let me try and undo this. There we go. Yeah, that has come free. So this needs to come all the way off. And now we can get our ball joint separator into here. Just a word of warning about removing the tyre rod end or the track rod end here. If you haven't got the separator tool, which I do really recommend using that if you can use the hammer to strike here. The other option, which I'm not quite so keen on, is you can always put your nut back on there, and then give this a sort of a tap up to set it free. Personally, I'd always use a separator tool. I think for the money, they are just the best way of doing things, and will save you hopefully a lot of time in the long run. But if you do go for the hammer method, personally, I'd always try and strike on the steering link there rather than underneath. I'm going to do it with a ball joint separator. I just think
it does make the job that little bit easier. So we'll just slip this into place, and then we can use our 19mm spanner. I'm just hoping I'm not trying to keep my hands out of the way of this shot so you can see what's going on. So we're just screwing this up now, and hopefully you'll hear a bit of a pop. There we go, as that track rod end comes free. So now this has come free of the steering arm. This does just wind out. Oops. And comes away. And I think I'm just going to try and show you. It was generally in good condition, but I think there was just a little bit of, I mean, you can see there where it looks like it's rubbed on the wheel a bit, and then there was just a little bit of sort of perishing on the rubber too. But I mean, it really is very, very slight, and in all honesty, I'll probably keep this as a spare, because I think if I could get another rubber boot to go on there, that would be absolutely fine to use again. You'll be able to see the rubber gaiter up in here. I think I've had a good look over it. I can't see any damage at all. I can't see any rips in it. It is worth obviously taking a good look over it, and if there is any split snap, we want to replace that at the same time as we take the track rod end off. I'm now going to fit our brand new track rod end on. I do like to put a little bit of this aluminium assembly grease on here, just on that thread, to keep everything sort of free. It stops anything seizing up. So we're just going to put the new track rod end on, and we're just going to sort of wind it up to approximately where the last one was. So it's just pretty much all the way up to that nut. So probably about, yes, probably about there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this into the steering link. I'm not going to put any grease on the part here, but I am going to put a little bit of grease just on the thread where the nut goes. So I'm just going to paint a little bit of this on. And then hopefully when we put this nut back on, it won't spin. The spindle won't spin in the shaft. So let's just try and get this tightened up a bit, and we'll just see what it does. Again, I'm going to try and keep my hands out of the way of the shot if I can. Yeah, I think that's absolutely fine. So we'll leave that there for now. We'll just check it with a torque wrench in a little bit, and then with our part here, we'll just be using a spanner again on these two bits. What you can do is if this bit is turning in the spindle, you can get a sort of a pry bar or something. Try and put a little bit of force on this arm, and it might just hold this in place so you can get that nut to sort of start tightening. As soon as you can feel it tighten up, you know it's going to be absolutely fine. It's just that first bit. Sometimes it can spin in the steering arm there. So almost the same as before. I'm just going to pinch these up now. So I'll hold the track rod in with the one spanner, and we use the other one on the nut there. We just sort of give that a bit of a pull up. Obviously, remember, most likely you'll be having to undo these again anyway, to just to double check the alignment. So that's fine for now. And then to finish off, we've just got the nut under here. In the book, I think that's 35 to 38 foot-pounds, which works out about 45 Newton meters. So I'm just going to get the torque wrench set up very, very quickly, and we'll knit that up. There we go. So just in here. There we go. And that's this side done. I'm going to sort of go over and do exactly the same on the other side now, and then essentially that's the job finished. Hopefully this video has proved useful to you. As always, don't hesitate with any questions about the procedure. It is nice and straightforward. The only thing really to keep in mind is to sort of get the alignment checked afterwards if you feel that things have moved. Probably worth doing anyway, in all honesty. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. Hopefully we'll be making a few more over the next few weeks as we get in this car ready for the 2020 race season. Many thanks, bye.